All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, I hope you've seen that tripartite report as put together by my team. We really had to go out to find out if Nigerians are really miserable, and if they really have some kind of hope, even as the president will be inaugurated tomorrow here in Abuja. My guests are with me, Dr. Obadiah Malafia, a development economist, as well as a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and former presidential candidate of ADC. He's joining me this morning. Welcome to you, Dr. Malafia, and good to have you on the show. Ray Morphy is a public affairs analyst. He's on the my right-hand side, the far end. Welcome to you too, Mr.
Thank you
Morphy.
very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Yes, you're welcome both. Now let's get started. I don't know, you saw a bit of that report. I think we should just take it from there. Because why we really had to go do that report is, you know, the misery index, like I always say on the show, I did a program on it at the time. Misery index, you put your inflation numbers together, unemployment, there are other statistics that are not also looking too good. So when you add all of them together, it shows you how miserable a country is. But even as we move to the next 4 years that will be heralded tomorrow, that will start tomorrow, so to speak, there's little hope that I'm getting from the people. I don't know, I could be wrong. But let me come to you, Dr. Malafia. What do you think?
No, I mean, Nancy, you are right. The misery index is very low right now. I'm told that in the last few weeks alone, there have been more than 80 cases of suicide. And this is actually not among very poor. It's actually middle class, accountants, doctors, lawyers. You know, these days when you are driving across that bridge in Lagos, from Ikeja into the island, you know, you are always looking out, making sure that nobody is trying to do something funny to themselves. The morale of the country is at almost zero level. But a lot of it is psychological because there is no real famine going on, even though there is hunger. But there is hunger and there is anger. There is this feeling that sociologists call anomie. It's a French word, but it has become anglicized virtually. A feeling of nihilism, a feeling that there's no future, a feeling of despair and hopelessness. A lot of that is going on. And it is not only a reflection of issues such as unemployment, violence, insecurity, banditry, and, you know, a state of lawlessness everywhere in the country. That is one aspect. The other aspect has to do, I think, with the failure of the leadership to engage in a very meaningful way with the people. We are not seeing that. There has to be that mutual interaction between leaders and citizens in a way that makes the leaders accountable so that people, especially young people, feel that they have a future and they have a hope. They can look forward to growing up in a country where they will have a good career, they will have family, and they will have a future for their children.
Let me bring in Ray Morphy here. I actually read an article by Luke Onyekeya in the Guardian newspaper, I think sometime last year. And he did say that the reason behind suicides are some kind of depression as well as frustration. He did also mention in that article of last year that there are some, I think, 5 primary causes of death. You see sickness, you see poverty, which he rated, I think, 24%, malnutrition, 7%, motor accident, natural death by 6%. And he also did say that if you add poverty and malnutrition, you get about 31%. Sickness, 26%. So poverty actually kills in that his report that I read. What is your own assessment? Because while I was reviewing for this interview today with my team 2 or 3 days ago, said, fine, we needed to do this tripartite report, but I wanted us to link it, that the misery index is there really a link between that misery index and the rate of suicides that we are seeing in the country and the rate of depression? Because Nigeria is the #1 most depressed country in Africa. So I asked my team, I said, there must be a relationship between all of this. What do you think?
Thank you, Nancy. First thing that my brother here, the economist, will tell you is that people buy not because they have money, but because they have hope to earn. That's the basis of buying, of investments, of spending the one you have. Now, hope is a very important component in both economics and in psychology. If you don't have hope, everything else falls apart.
Absolutely.
What we have in the situation today is that there's hopelessness. Hopelessness is usually a function of impunity against the poor. When you speak of this impunity, you find that big people have hope because they have access to the economy, they have access to the national treasury. The small people see their hope extinguished. Take poverty alleviation programs. Link it to what Mrs. President just said a few days ago.
I couldn't just, I said that's coming from the from the president's wife.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I also know the data shows me about social investment, that the social investment is not yielding any fruit.
We don't, sometimes these statistics, as they say, is just numbers. The fact is, what's the pulse of the people? What is the poverty rating of the country today? Don't you see it yourself? Don't you feel it yourself? Where is the crime coming from? Crime is coming from hopelessness. Where is suicide coming from? Suicide is coming from bleak future. People look at the future and say, look, what's the point? So you have to deal with poverty. You have to deal with youth poverty. I keep recalling, under Obasanjo, I wrote one column, Poverty Ticking Time Bomb, 2006 or something, particularly in the Northeast. I did some work for BBC around the Northeast. And I saw that poverty was going to become a problem because if you look at Maslow hierarchy of needs, once you get to a point, you become an animal. And you hunt. So that's it. That's what it has done. So poverty is leading to suicides. Poverty is leading to crime. And you look at the fact, and what makes it worse is the concept of expectation. You see other people doing so well. So it creates expectations, which you can't meet. It creates anger. It creates aggression. Like someone said, the poor are revenging. They're on the vengeance mode. So we need to address this poverty going forward.
Now, you did that report for BBC in 2006.
Yes.
That poverty was a ticking time bomb.
Yes.
Is it still a ticking time bomb or it has exploded?
It is both a ticking time bomb and it's going to explode some more. It's like a barrel bomb. It's like a series of bombs because the situation is that the population is growing. These people that are growing have no access to the economy because they have no skills. A skill is your visa to the economy. If you don't have a skill, you're like a swimmer, like a non-swimmer by the riverbank. People are swimming, you can't get in. So if you don't have skills, and government, our people, are not taking the right steps to give the young people skills. And skills, let me tell you the truth, basic skills are cheap. But when you hear poverty alleviation, as I wrote this morning, it is diverted. Cure ED. Agric loans that will make it easier for the poor to get access to the economy are diverted.
Yes, I actually was at an event last week put together by CD, and they came up with a report, 2 books actually, how corruption negates the assistance of government to MSMEs in Nigeria. That's corruption, government like the CBN, for example, has many intervention funds, but the issue is that our banks even getting those funds to the MSMEs. That's a different ballgame. And I hope that Emefiele in his second term will take care of that. Now, Doctor, we've been talking about hope. The president is going to be inaugurated tomorrow. In fact, I say president will be re-inaugurated. He will re-inaugurate himself again since he's coming back for his second term. Should Nigerians look out for hope from tomorrow? Would there be seemingly a change, a ray of light coming from I don't know where, but will he bring us that ray of light? I don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. His picture writers may be putting together something, but are we going to see that ray of hope? tomorrow. Not Ray Morphy, Ray of Hope.
Yes, I mean, we should look forward to ray of, the ray of Morphy as well as the ray of hope. We can have more of both. But seriously, Nancy, you've hit the nail on a very important point. I think at the end of the day, we have to live by hope. Because once that hope is gone, we've lost it. In fact, very spiritual people will tell you that all human beings, more or less, choose the moment they die. They consciously choose it. And I will explain. People reach a certain stage and feel they have nothing more to look forward to. They feel that all hope is lost. What am I doing in this world? There's nothing I have to live for. Life has no meaning and no purpose. So from that moment, they begin to die spiritually, even before they die physically. And because human nature is a very complex thing. And I'll give you just another example. The countries with the highest rates of suicide are actually not Nigeria. We're worried now because it has become some crisis. Because our people are really not used to it. By nature, Nigerians love fun.
Enjoyment.
They love life.
They live on hope that it go better.
It
Don't
go
worry,
better.
I go blow tomorrow. Something must happen.
But the countries with the highest rates of suicide are countries like Sweden, Norway, Finland. They are actually very comfortable. And South Korea, they are very comfortable for different reasons. South Korea is the pressure of to make it.
To make it and all
okay?
that.
If a young woman feels that, oh, my ear should have been slightly different, my eyebrows should have been something, that's enough for her to commit suicide because she's modeling herself in some kind of delusion. In Sweden, it is a feeling of purposelessness. We've achieved everything. Everything is comfortable. So what next? In Nigeria, the crisis is because, to be honest with you, we are reaching a very frightful level in our country in terms of the absence of moral leadership, the absence of focus and purpose for a country of 200 million people, energetic, intelligent people. You don't offer them hope. There is no vision for the country. There's no purpose. There's no sense of direction of where we are going as a nation. And the greatest nations on earth are not ruled just like that. In Russia, before they make major policies, they get the Academy of Sciences to sit together. They look at political issues, technological issues, social, scientific issues. They get people, the minds, the greatest minds of the nation. The United States does that. Germany does that. Britain does that. France does that. They don't just create accidental people who nobody knows where they come from, with no intellectual provenance to run a huge country. Well, as for President Muhammadu Buhari, I am not in his heart or his mind. I wouldn't know what plans he has for the country or what vision he has right now. But we can only draw some conclusions from inference, from logical inference. And the logical inference is that at this stage in his life, this is a second term, even though it is contested by the other party, the other major party. But there won't be a third term. He will not try to do an OBJ by trying to come for a third term, even though I heard some noises in that direction by some of his underlings. So he would want to leave a legacy. All leaders want to leave a legacy. He may not have been, he might have been doing a lot of firefighting in the first term, but in this second term, he would want to leave a legacy. Therefore, he will not try to be beholden to the party machine in terms of the choice of the people he would like to work with. He might have tried to please various interests in his first term. In the second term, he would want to leave a legacy. He would want to rebuild the economy. He would want to stabilize the polity. He would like to leave a legacy that he would be remembered. And if he is to follow that line, of course, it would mean that he would have to do things differently. The economy right now is in shambles. We really have no economic team to speak of.
Is it that the economy is really in shambles, or we are not doing as much as we should do? Is it fair enough to say the economy is in shambles, or we are not doing as good as we should do?
Well, when I say shambles,
at least we're not Venezuela, we're not Zimbabwe.
Well, do you want to reach that level? If you see, they could survive that level, but Nigeria will not be able to survive that. When I say we're in shambles, and I don't mean that to cast aspersion on the government or anyone. Electricity right now is being rationed. The discos have no incentive to invest. Power cuts have reached ridiculous levels. As you know, we recently became the world capital of poverty. 90 million Nigerians are now poor. That is about 45% of our population, as compared to India's 70 million poor, who are only about 21% of the Indian population of 1.3 billion. That is a very frightful level. 13 million of our children are out of school. 24 million youths are unemployed. And if you add another 20 million underemployed, you have a figure of 46 million. In any country, that should amount to a tragedy. And not only that, the killings going on, people have lost their conscience. So when some of us speak, they think we are just being alarmist, or because it is happening in the middle belt, and I come from the middle belt, therefore we are making so much noise. We are intellectuals, and we are patriots. If it were happening in the southeast, I would make the same amount of noise. What we have is a kind of slow motion genocide. And it is going on in this country. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why anybody should tolerate it. Okay, if you want to destroy democracy, that is the best way to do it.
Let me bring in Mr. Morphy. You've heard all what the doctor has said. Even as we transit to the next level government tomorrow, so many challenges before the president, not just even before the president, before every one of us, because for me, doing this program every weekday, I'm always very pained because I see the things as it is. Like I always say, this show of mine is not for propaganda. No. I don't want it. And just like you said, so that you don't begin to sound like an alarmist, or you don't like the APC government, or you don't like a particular person. No. And I tell people, I say, go back to history. At least I've been there for a while. Go check me out in the last 16 years too, and also check out what I've been saying. I don't think I've changed. What I'm actually trying to say, insecurity is still a problem. Unemployment is still a problem. Poverty is still a problem. Budget implementation is still a problem. I don't even know what is the shining light for us to hold. You know, ease of doing business 145, GDP 2.01%. We're still growing below the population rate of close to 3% or 3.5%. It depends on who you are speaking with. There are a lot of numbers to bandy. But Mr. Morphy, let me just bring you in here. What are you expecting in the next 4 years? Will you see a different President Buhari?
Like I said, this is the legacy time. Any organized mind wants to build a legacy, no matter how bad the other one was. There's a need to build a lasting legacy. And the only way you can build a lasting legacy is to leave footprints in the sand, or on the sand. You know, watching the last 4 years, knowing the man so well, let me say that I was one of the volunteers of 2002, 2003 Buhari run. So much hope, so much belief, because of the history of the way back. And I think that the last 4 years has doused quite a bit of that hope, if we are speaking about hope. But I still think that even the most blind person knows that the last 4 years wasn't good enough. So the way to go is rejig. If it's a matter of competencies, bring it in. If it's a matter of capabilities, bring them in. Leave the party issues aside.
But won't that be difficult to do?
No, it won't be. The reason why it won't be difficult is very simple. There are known Nigerians known to be competent in known fields. I blamed Obasanjo, for instance, when he appointed my friend and my brother, Lieli Moke, a lawyer, to chair the Technical Committee on Power. I mean, that was ab initio set to fail. You can't take a man who has no idea of power and appoint him to run power systems on Technical Committee. Are you following me? The same kind of misappointments happened in the last administration. We're looking for competencies. We're in an emergency situation. Haven't you seen pictures of the roads in Lagos? The roads, the port roads, the roads that take goods out of the port. Haven't you seen Lagos Ibadan? Haven't you seen Abeokuta?
But would you also discountenance this administration that they're doing a few things?
No, I'm not saying they are not. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, one cannot say they haven't done anything. But I'm saying that competencies deliver more. If you take a guy who's an engineer and give him your house to build, he will not have time learning how to build your house because he has the competencies. If you take a medical doctor and give him your house to build, he has to spend some time trying to understand even the terminology of building house, so you're wasting time. And let me please point out something. A nation is like a human body. A country is like a human body. Arteries, veins. The arteries are the roads. If the arteries are not working, how can the economy work? If the cells, the individual human beings, have no competencies, how can the system work? The three things that the president should do for us in the new term is skills and training to our people, to the young people, micro level. Like he said, security, give us hope. Everybody's scared. My friends who live in the suburbs of Abuja, Nyanya, Masaka, and all those places, they're scared. They tell me that the things that happen around there are not reported. That people are killed every day. There are motorcyclists and all kinds of people. They are scared. The villagers don't go to farm anymore. They're scared.
And it's also worthy of note to point out that we're also losing men of valor, just like you see right now on your screen. A lot of soldiers are dying, a lot of military people, or those that, and it's not also being reported.
Educated ones are migrating. Yes. People who have competencies are leaving, running. So the president needs to make statements that give us hope. Because the issue today is that there is a hopelessness. It's bleak.
Now, is it just about making statements? Because he's made statements anytime
Sorry, my dear, statements I mean here is not just mouth. You can make statements with the actions you take, by the people you appoint, by those who you fire. I mean, those are the statements we need to hear.
Now, do you think that the president, because he met with his cabinet, his ministers, was it last week or so, he praised them, said they had different skills and all of that. Are we looking for a total reset of the cabinet, or are we looking for the president to bring in a few good men to his cabinet again from the old cabinet because their tenure expires today?
My dear, that is what I mean by make statements. It is what he does that determines how we read it. There are people who believe that the ministers have done well. There are a preponderance of people who believe that the ministers haven't done so well. So it is the way he goes about it that determines what hope Nigerians can have in the next 4 years. But the fact is that Nigerians are voting with their legs. Elites are leaving. You read it that day that Desmond, I'm sorry to say it here, that Desmond, a member of House of Reps, is applying to Canadian immigrant status.
In the social media.
A member of House of Reps. I'm sorry to say it here. But that's a vote of no confidence in the system. So for me, the president has another opportunity to put his name in gold.
Let me bring in Dr. Malafia. What do you have to say? You know?
Well, I agree with Harry. I mean, that we are facing for the first time a situation where people feel that there's no hope. They can't even see a glimmer of light on the horizon. It is true that, you know, 1 or 2 ministers have done reasonably well. But, you know, you even ask yourself, some of them actually are more like shadow ministers. You don't even know they exist until once in a while NTA or AIT will show them on cutting a ribbon somewhere, and you don't see any major projects that have been achieved. You really don't see. We're talking about Ibadan, Lagos road, Ibadan, Lagos rail, and of course that of Kaduna, the railway was actually started and virtually completed by Goodluck. They only came and benefited from it.
No, but government is a continuum. He can as well have said he will not do it. Should we discountenance the president from doing that too?
You couldn't have dared say he will not do it because, I mean, you've already put in so much. You have to just finish it. But that is not to say that they haven't done anything at all. In rice, we are becoming virtually self-sufficient in domestic production. So in agriculture, some things have been done well, only for them to shoot themselves in the foot by allowing this violence to go on. And it is undermining rural agriculture as well. You are trying to do so much for it with anchor borrowers and other things. Things are beginning to improve, and then you worsen it by creating insecurity again. So it's a very absurd situation. But let's hope. And they say hope springs eternal in the human breast. So let us keep hope alive. It's our country. It's our future. And, whichever government is there, as citizens, our duty is to support the government and support the president, pray for him, and hope that God will give them that sense of vision and that sense of wisdom and patriotism and love of the people to do the right things. Because right now, the situation is very bleak. Okay,
let me bring in Mr. Morphy. What are the right things as we look forward to solutions? What are there some quick wins that the president can just quickly undertake as he's being sworn in again tomorrow? Are there solutions, quick solutions, and perhaps mid-term solutions as well as long-term?
For me, there are quick wins. Quick wins are to ensure that corruption does not stop the trickle-down effect of all the programs meant for the poor people. It is clear that there are points at which those things stop. The quick win is let it trickle down. That's very important because the most desolate people are the ones who the government is not reaching. And someone said, if INEC can harvest votes from these people, government facilities should be able to reach them. That's important. Second one, the truth of the matter is that Mr. President, one can say, I can be one of those who can say, he means well. But, meaning well is not enough.
That is a good intention.
Yes, it's not enough. Meaning well means getting the people to translate your meaning well into action. That's why we say that the people he appoints makes a point. The things we should look at, if you look at education, for instance, education is preparation for the future. Without educating your people, you are discounting your future. So I align myself with Adamu, who is asking for quite an increase in funding for education because we need to jig our concept of education. Then the youth. You know that we're a growing population, so there are more young people than old people. And these young people today are the ones you find hawking. Hawking is not a skill.
Hawking is just what they do to survive.
Now, if you and their training is time bound. If a child does not go to school at all by the time he's 20, 21, the chances of him ever going to school is almost nil.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we need to address. If you don't address them, then finally, my dear, this is more of moral. The issue of this love for money. If Mr. President or anybody can, through the NOA, begin to rejig our consciousness, return our work ethic. These are, nations run on
money
the fundamentals.
Money isn't bad. Having money is not bad.
No. I know we're saying the same thing. Nations are run on the fundamentals of ethics.
Values.
If there are no ethics, you have a jungle. And what we have right now is close to one. So for me, it's not a matter of really projects. It's a matter of investing in the people. Because there are two schools of government. One school says, build things. The lasting school says, build people. Then people will build things. Yeah. So for me, the Mr. President has another opportunity. to do it right and get Nigeria behind him. To get Nigeria behind him, he must use the word inclusiveness, not exclusiveness. Because we have a situation where a lot of people feel excluded, a lot of sections, a lot of states, a lot of tribes. We are a country of too many tribes, and if you don't see your tribe man, I mean, let's be honest about it, or in a system, and you see a preponderance of a certain tribe, you get alarmed. So for us to build back hope, build trust in federal government, and if you follow the issues of Bill Gates on tax, Nigerians don't trust government. That's not the findings about low response to tax.
Yes, tax
Nigerians don't trust state government, they don't trust local government, they don't trust federal government. I suppose that with Mr. President, for the kind of person he is, he should have been able to build back trust in the federal government. But the recent indices show that Nigerians still don't trust that government. President Buhari's main trust should be how to rebuild the trust in the Nigerian state.
Dr. Malafia, your solutions. In case perhaps the
Well,
president
one
is
of them
listening or his
is
aides.
that we should, you know, a friend of mine told me there's a difference between corruption and corruption. We are fighting corruption.
Corruption is not an English word, I suppose.
Well,
Corruption.
We are fighting corruption, but we are not fighting corruption. And we should stop politicizing. Corruption is when we politicize it. You fight only members of other parties, and you leave people next to you that are
Ojus
who are bleeding the country dry. Sorry?
Ojus Okalo. I thought he was being tried for corruption.
They are not
Well,
just Ojus Okali, they are
Yeah, indeed. Yes, well,
Same
of
party.
course, that's true.
Yes.
But if you are not in the good books, then they send the dogs after you, and so on. But we shouldn't politicize it. If we strengthen our institutions, strengthen the Office of Auditor General, that would actually fight corruption more than any other thing, instead of fighting corruption. And please, if we believe we have the people's mandate, then let us govern. To govern is to exercise leadership and to provide vision for the country. And let us do it for love of Nigeria.
Okay.
Not only on a sectional basis, but for the collective good of all the people of Nigeria.
Doctor, let me halt you here. There was a video that I saw. I listened, Julius Malema of South Africa,
Yes.
of EFF party in South Africa. We know that Cyril Ramaphosa was just inaugurated in South Africa. Let's play that video. It made a lot of sense to me. Let me see if it also makes sense to you, and we'll take it from there, the concluding part of the show.
It does.
Comrade President, we congratulate you, and we hope that you will be a president of a corrupt-free government, and you will not subject yourself to views of factionalism. There are people who thrive through patronizing presidents. They tell you all you want to hear, and as a result, you are unable to make informed decisions because you surrender yourself with praise singers and yes men and yes women. I've seen young men and women from the benches of the ANC. Maybe it is time to consider them so that they can come to you with fresh ideas, with new ideas, and if they don't like positions, they will be able to be honest with you. You need someone who's going to be honest with you. The position you occupy needs someone who's going to be honest with you, because those who failed were told many a times that they are right even when they were wrong. Even when the Constitutional Court said to them, you are wrong. Even when the Public Protector said to them, you are wrong. Those around them kept on telling them they are right. And that's why they got it wrong. You must never ever listen to those who say you are right against the courts of South Africa, against Chapter 9 institutions of South Africa. Those are the institutions which are meant to defend our democracy.
Julius Malema of South Africa speaking to Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa. And you saw how the president of South Africa was just looking at him I don't know if he was looking at him sternly or if he was also digesting what he was saying. But why I'm playing that video is Julius Malema speaking truth to the president in his face. Should we see that kind of thing now, even as we enter the next 4 years, for people to be able to speak truth to power, which is very essential. I've always said it on this show. I say the president and some of his aides, or even the VP, and some leaders, you see them in tinted cars. When they are moving, the rest of us don't move until they move. And I say that for the fact that you're even in a tinted car, you won't see me well from that tinted glass, because the tinted glass will not show my color well. Will not, yes, it will not show how I feel so well. What I mean is the relationship between the governed and the people that are the governors, so to speak. So speaking truth to power, just like Julius Malema told Cyril Ramaphosa, should we be expecting more of that, and should it be encouraged as we end the show? Doctor, quickly.
Of course, no doubt whatsoever. I want to also say that actually I happen to know Cyril Ramaphosa. 1986, I was a student intern in Quebec, in Canada, and he came there from the labor unions in South Africa, and we became good friends. And so I know him. He's a very fine gentleman. He was Mandela's candidate.
Yeah, candidate.
It's just that, you know,
politics
exactly took over. And I'm sure that he will make a very good president for South Africa. For one thing, he's made billions, so he's not looking for money. Because he was frustrated in politics, they couldn't give him any appointment, so he turned his attention to business, where he made a fortune until recently he was chairman of MTN Global. He's done very well for himself. He will make an excellent president. And Malema, love him or loathe him, he is a new phenomenon in South Africa. He is the voice of the oppressed people of South Africa and of the youth. And he has spoken truth to power, that any president that only listens to yes men and yes women, those who tell him what he wants to hear, is not going to be a success.
Well, let me add this.
Yeah.
He should.
Sorry, please.
Yeah.
It's important for you to note that there are actually politicians in South Africa. What you have in Nigeria is businessmen masquerading in politics. So their whole intention is to make money out of the system. Until you have people who are thinking about their people, you will not have opportunity.
We shouldn't also take out the fact that South Africa is plagued with a lot of challenges.
It does.
South Africa has high unemployment rates, joblessness, poverty, and all that.
How many of our politicians will go to the president and speak this truth? Instead, they're talking about contracts, talking about oil blocks. That's the problem.
And he's also making the point about the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers can be very dangerous. In fact, in Hausa, they said, that you never have a bad king. You only have bad entourage.
Okay.
Because they will now imprison him, they will cage him, and they actually shield him from hearing and seeing what is happening. So our amiable President Muhammadu Buhari, we hope and pray that God will give him the grace and the wisdom to lead this country with vision and with courage, and to do the right things, and to choose his advisors wisely, and to beware of gatekeepers who block good opinions from reaching him and good ideas from reaching him.
Doctor, I have to halt you. Not just choosing good advisors, also choosing those good advisors on time. I don't expect another 6 months that the president will wait to choose advisors.
Exactly.
Director, let me just take a quick comment from our viewers, because a lot of them are coming. Just a minute. Unique Hadi on Twitter says, future belongs to those that prepare for it today. Malcolm X, so nations that prepare for today are playing the major league. While Dauda says security and electricity with education. Chibuzo Onyema says, I agree with the guest that the president has to make a statement of hope. Hope is what keeps a person when every other thing seems otherwise. Abubakar Ibrahim says, improve security, economy and wealth creation, fast decision making and action as well. Nico Dede says, with the way things have been since the 4 years of President Buhari in the office, I'll tell you that nothing will still happen in the second time around. Ojana Lama says, we don't expect much at all. We've seen the man's antecedents. While Ebo says, talking about the president making